Welcome to the By Design radio program. My name is Dr. James Proodian of Proodian Healthcare and ProodianHealthcare.com, where health literacy is the key to longevity. And as long as God has us on this side of eternity, my show is designed to help educate you and your families to feel better, function better, and live as many quality disease-free years as possible. Thanks for joining me this week, and thank you Tandem Radio and the Bridge FM for giving me the opportunity to share with you each week. We're going to be talking about our kids today, and we're going to be talking about some of the epidemics that this country and the world is plagued with, especially overweight and obesity with respect to our children. And it's a real live conversation that I started to get involved in the mid-90s. And I'm going to walk you through some things today I think is very important for all of us to know. Before we get going, this program is always focused on following God's design. That's why it's called By Design and not man's design. And when you take apart children's health, and especially the topic of obesity, this is specifically, once again, man rearing its ugly head into God's plan, and the outcome or the consequence of man's industrialized last 30 to 40 years and breaking up the family, things that we remembered back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, which now have been pretty much gone to the wayside. The outcome of it has been a very sick population, chronically sick, not just us adults, but also our children. If a child is born after the year 2000, it's the first time in Western civilization history that the child is expected to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents. That's New England Journal of Medicine research. It's really alarming, the fact that we have been able to de-evolve in such a manner that now our children have a shorter life expectancy than we do. 1 out of 3 children will develop type 2 diabetes in their lifetime. And if a child is obese by the time they're 18, 19 years old, they have an 80 to 90% chance of staying that way for the rest of their lives. So this is obviously type 2 diabetes, diabesity, as some call it, which is a very underdiagnosed, rarely spoken about, highly reversible condition, which leads to so many downstream problems. I think that as I'm a parent of 5, I treat children in clinical practice, especially nutritionally. I think that parents are a bit overwhelmed, not sure what to do. I see it all the time when I'm out doing my public speaking, that so many people have questions about feeding their children. So Luke 1:37, for with God nothing is impossible, and it is not impossible to change direction and to transform our homes back into a bit of a counterculture, not following man's plan, but following God's design for how we should feed ourselves, how we should exercise ourselves and exercise our children. Children are not mini adults. They should not exercise the way we do. And I'm going to be drawing from Dr. Melinda Southern's book, Trim Kids. Anyone out there who would like to pick that book up, please go buy it. Trim Kids by Dr. Southern. She's the director of pediatric obesity out of LSU. I administer her program named Trim Kids. It's a wonderful program. It's a combination of self-esteem building, nutrition, and exercise. It requires parent involvement. So why are our kids so overweight? And why are American children heavier than ever? When you look at the latter half of the 20th century, Americans increasingly, what they did, they moved from neighborhoods to suburbs, and kids stopped walking and riding their bikes and got into cars, and routine forms of exercise were lost. I know that when I grew up, the greatest words in the English language were, go outside and play, right? Dad, I have 104 fever. Go outside and play. Dad, I have a broken arm. Go outside and play. I mean, it was the answer for everything. And free play, and you can write that down in your health journal, free play is what we're going to encourage our children to do, because that's the way God designed them. They were not designed to get on a treadmill. Children were designed to climb a tree, swing in a tire, then play some stickball, then lace up their ice skates and go ice skating, then run around the neighborhood. They were designed for free play, not structured play so much, and we're going to talk about that. The other problem with, and we're going to list some things why our children are so overweight and obese, is fear. Parents, the whole, have you seen this child on the milk carton? you can't help it, but in the last 20 or 30 years, parents began to fear that, abduction of their children was a real life thing. It's not like when I was a kid and, you left the house at 8, 9 on a Saturday morning and you had to be home for dinner, and that was it, and your parents really didn't know where you were most of the day. You're out playing with your friends all day in the neighborhood. Next, let's continue. Our third point are hardworking parents. The increase of 2-income households has obviously increased in the last 20, 30, 40 years. Kids are, left after school in extended daycare programs. Children are, instead of being outside, kind of burning calories. And so, a lot of this is socioeconomic, that we have developed a society where, the two income household. The next reason, the soccer myth. Organized youth teams have exploded. When I was a kid, and I'm 48 years old, if you couldn't take your bike to your event, you didn't play. You didn't expect your mother and father to drive you everywhere. And organized teams, what a lot of parents don't realize is kids sit around a lot in organized sports, right? They're not out free playing in an organized youth sport. So be careful out there, parents. Don't think that exercise is necessarily going to equate to a youth sport. The next is the emphasis, on test scores. A lot of cash-strapped school districts are fighting by No Child Left Behind, and it's shifted resources from the class time, to the class time and away from phys ed and really prepping students for standardized tests. Fast food. Mom's baked potato has absolutely been replaced by the supersized order of French fries that's cooked in beef fat. Soft drink machines have basically lodged themselves into every high school hallway. Big business has moved in and has taken over. So the days of having, homemade lemonade, homemade iced tea, and water from mom has significantly been replaced by the food industry, and they're very, very smart as to where they place their stuff. Technology. Anyone who's raising a child today does not need me to go through how technology has taken our children away from free play and stuck them on a couch with their head down and their thumbs moving. So video games and texting and all of this kind of stuff, if we're not disciplined as parents to limit the amount of hours our children are on technology, then shame on us. Our family trait, there is a tendency for overweight people, to have overweight children. And this is something that it needs to be looked at, because it is a trickle-down effect, and we have to implement a plan for the whole family. Remember now, when most of us were kids, there were no computers, video games, minimized fast food. There was no cable TV. Today, U.S. children watch on an average of, I think it's about 30 hours of TV a week. 20 to 30 hours. And when you think about the amount of eating out that people do in the course of a week, it has significantly increased because we've gotten away from the family meal, not just the family dinner, but family preparation of breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. I don't know about you. Again, when we went out to dinner as a family, it was a major deal. It was for a reason that we were going out for dinner. So we have outsourced our food. We have outsourced our snacking. We've outsourced so much of this stuff because everybody is so busy. And the result of it is not only an obese population, but our children are more obese than ever. Kids, when we were kids, were basically outside, again, riding their bikes, climbing trees, playing tag, free play. We want to promote an environment that is free play. The other thing is spontaneous activity. When you have a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old like I do, it's an amazing thing watching them just spontaneously be active. They're just all of a sudden outside and they're running around. They pick up a game of soccer, or they pick up a game of whatever. Yet this is interesting. Between the ages of 6 and 16, that spontaneous exercise decreases 50%. And any of you out there with a teenager sitting home on the couch, you know exactly what I'm talking about. As a family, we always want to encourage free play, and that's the entire family. So the percentage of youth participation in vigorous physical activity has really declined in boys and girls. And what we're doing out there is we're putting them in these organized sports, and you're not getting that free play. When we were kids, again, the family got together at dinner time, they ate, they prayed, they talked about their day. Only 5 to 10% of American children were overweight in the 70s. 5 to 10%. Today, that number is well above 20, approaching 30%. And it is a serious epidemic, guys, in our culture and in our country. To look at this from a diagnostic perspective, we want to really wrap our arms around the understanding of what pediatric obesity is and how it's diagnosed. It's not necessarily just looking at a child or putting a child on a scale. It's figuring out their BMI, and there's very easy ways you could do that. You could go online and look at a chart. Depending upon the age of your child will depend upon what range they should be in for their BMI. BMI is calculated by using their height, their weight, and their age. So it's a very simple mathematical equation. In my office, what we like to do is we weigh everybody on a very kind of elaborate scale that measures body fat percentage. We know how much fat mass is on their body in pounds. We know exactly what we're working with. But remember, pediatric obesity is far more than weight loss. I never talk to a child about their weight because most children who are struggling with obesity have peer issues, and also psychologically, we want to be very, very careful to address this problem, not so much like we do with adults, but we have to look at it from a self-esteem perspective, a godly perspective, so that we really wrap our arms around these kids and take them under our wing. And as parents, you end up being the coach on this kind of a thing. But it's important to get height, weight, BMI. You do want to figure out blood pressure, even sometimes blood analysis, looking at cholesterol and triglycerides, very important. We do the diagnostic testing, which includes figuring out body fat, is very important. Okay, and we want to look at this from a starting place, okay, where they're at right now, and then putting them on a program. And the program is one, like I said, it wraps itself around free play, nutrition, and self-esteem building from a godly perspective. So we want to start moving the body mass index. We want to improve the cardiopulmonary function. We want to really increase the physical activity, and we want to watch the snacking and the TV time. And we want to actually monitor the amount of TV time and FaceTime they have with their electronic devices. And I think as parents, we all want to do that. So from an aerobic perspective, we want endurance, right? We want our children to have longer bouts of exercise. From an anaerobic perspective, we want them to be stronger, to develop things like power in their bodies, depending upon their age group. And also we want them to do weight-bearing exercise, like running around, being on 2 feet. So as we develop a plan, and you could read Trim Kid's book, read about the first 90 pages. That's for you, the coach. And before Dr. Southern gets into like week 1, week 2, and she goes through a 10-week program, you get a good backdrop on why we're doing this. All right. One of the things, and I agree with this in the book that she talks about, is play now, homework later. When a child gets home from school, their brains are tired, but not their bodies. They've had a long sedentary environment. Think about it, they're in school, they need to blow off some steam. So when your child comes home, give them a glass of water, maybe a piece of fruit, and get them outside, ride a bike, skate. Let's play some ball or tag for about 30 minutes. Even if it's indoors, you could dance. You could do a lot with hula hoops and foam balls and skipping rope. There's a number of things that we could do that child should do before he or she does their homework, and I guarantee you they'll concentrate better after they've done some free play. All right? So let's maybe implement that. And when we look at kids who are committed to a pediatric weight management program, Trim Kids is broken down into red, yellow, green, and blue. The reds are the high-risk, severely obese children. We want to move them to yellow, to green, and then to blue, which is maintenance. So the program is broken down very simply for a parent. And if you need someone like me to help you coach, please contact me. So The goal is to increase power and strength, muscular endurance. It also increases bone density. We're going to increase muscle to tendon ratio, motor performance. It's also going to improve the way their brains work and a positive body image, which is so important, guys. We want to increase the good calories, the stuff that God designed our children to be eating, not this man-made stuff, with well-balanced meals and a healthy approach to eating. We're going to eliminate high-calorie snacks that have no place in a child's life and actually cause a lot of the mental problems and their focus, right? We want to stay away from adult-focused commercials, especially on Saturday mornings. Parents, it's up to us. We have to take some responsibility here. Remember, these are our children. We need to be their coach. We need to keep the stuff out of the house, like the high sugary beverages and the bad foods. We want to learn so that you're eating with your child together. It's not they're doing this and you're not. We really want to require all drinks and food to be consumed in the kitchen or the dinner table or a designated area. We want to schedule those mid-morning snacks and you're eating together, especially on the weekends, and always require your children to eat a healthy breakfast. Discourage snacking after dinner time. All right, there's a lot of great tips that I could give you. Maybe I'll pick up again into next week, but I'm out of time. This is a very passionate subject matter to me. These are our children. They're our responsibility. They're our treasure given to us by God from the moment that we have them, and it's up to us to take care of them. God bless you all. I'm going to end my show quickly here today. If you need any more information about me, go to ProodianHealthcare.com and have a wonderful, blessed week.